How was it playing a cyborg and almost Superman? How did you feel with the pressure?
You know what? First of all, it was totally cool. I did not see a mock-up of the character until after I'd done the first pass, and so I relied heavily on Wes Gleason, the casting director and the voice coach, as we were going through it. You know, I smile only because when I say he coached me through it, in the very beginning, he very much was saying like, "Okay, that was good. Let's bring it down and make it real." You know, because I was sort of playing at being in an animated film. I was sort of playing at like, what is being a cyborg? I'm going to be a cyborg. I'll be Arnold Schwarzenegger, or whatever the hell I was thinking. You know what I mean? And Wes was really good about sort of reminding me that what makes animation work best is the reality of it. It's like any other play that I've ever been in, or any other show I've been in. We all have to buy into the realness of the world. Yeah. And if anyone's sort of not playing in the same sandbox, that's when the audience sort of senses something's false and it doesn't work. And so it was really great to sort of be in there. It's like, okay, what are my circumstances? I'm a cyborg. What are my circumstances? Thank you. What do I want out of the scene? What's going on? Am I angry, or am I ratcheted up, or am I content? Am I in control in this scene? Do I have the power? Do I not have the power? Do I think I have the power? All those sort of things. So it really does become a breakdown of all the acting work that I do with everything else. You know, there is no lessening of it or thinness of it.
What attracts you to the character of Cyborg Superman?
Well, I was just glad to be asked back, to tell you the truth. You know, Death of Superman was really my first foray into voiceover in comic books and animation like that. Not that I haven't wanted to. It's just, you know, it's very competitive. It's a tight shop, and it's hard to get a job. You just need a way in. And you know, being able to play, you know, look at me. If you look at my resume and my live action stuff, I play a lawyer. I play the guy next door. I'm the doctor. I'm a CEO. Nobody lets me play a cyborg. Are you kidding me? So that's awesome. I mean, that's the great thing about animation too. You get to go ahead and really be somebody you've never been. So that was very attractive, without doubt.
Have you had the opportunity to watch the movie yet?
Yes.
What'd you think?
Oh, I was thrilled. I was really thrilled, and what I like about it is, you know, as we all know, animation can be hit or miss. You know, but when it works, when it locks in together, when all the pieces are flowing together, and I think this does. You get lost in the world. You can really feel the emotional arcs of the stories that are going on. It's got plenty of action. You know, it's got all that stuff that you would expect from something like this. But you know, having Jerry and Rebecca be Lois and Superman is a great bonus. I know both of them. I also know Rainn Wilson, who plays Lex Luthor. So that's fun as well. So it was great. It was great to sort of sit there and watch it unfold and think of my friends sort of doing that. Even though they're really not my friends in the movie, I didn't say that safely. You know, and I lost the thread. I'm sorry.
It was just when you think about the movie, since you had the opportunity.
It's great. It's great. You know, and it gets rolling. It really gets rolling. It picks up where other things left off. You know, like a lot of those things, you've got some things being laid out in the beginning, but then particularly that last third is just like a rocket. It's great.
What happens?
Yeah. Oh, what happens? Let's talk about that. So
Hank Henshaw starts off as a character who is totally smitten with Superman because Superman has saved him. We see that he dies in that first film. Comic readers will realize that he becomes a major villain for Superman while impersonating him. So how do you balance all of that dichotomy, all of that contrast, that contradiction in a character who, you know, has gone from loving him to hating him, who's impersonating him at the same time that he hates him as well?
Well, you got to play one thing at a time, right? In the first film, none of the stuff that we know later is happening. So, you know, there's very much that sense of who doesn't love Superman? It isn't until he feels betrayed by him, right? And until later, you don't like Superman?
Oh, I love Superman. I'm sorry.
You hate Superman.
What?
Yeah, I think so. I can tell. You know what I mean? There's that idea of, you know, he feels betrayed because he feels like Superman, you know, didn't have the time for him. You know, the crew gets, the spaceship gets obliterated. You know, and it's definitely his fault. I'm sorry, if you look at me, I'm just like, it is definitely his fault. It is what it is. And so later on, you know, how do you go ahead and, you know, get back at that? Your feelings change, you know. Your hero's no longer your heroes. What do you do with that emotion? Changes people.
As an actor, I know a lot of, like, you end up having to record a lot of your lines alone.
how do you react to? How do you adjust to that particular challenge as an actor?
I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. It is piecemeal work, and it's a little fractured. But again, we got a good guiding hand with Wes Gleason, who's the casting director, who knows that in advance. He knows that it's difficult sort of doing what you're doing, and he keeps it rolling and keeps the thread. He doesn't like linger on stuff. If I'm not getting it, we'll come back and circle back to it and that sort of thing. But the idea of getting dialogue between people and getting that bounce. I haven't experienced when I've done that with animation yet, so I can't say I prefer it or don't prefer it. I just know on a practical level, it's easier to isolate. It's easier to concentrate on one character at a time. I mean, just on the practicality of like people stepping over each other's lines, which happens all the time if you're naturally talking about like that. So if you're in the booth together, and let's face it, booth time is money time, right? Now you're talking about production costs. So now we got 3 actors who are all friends doing a scene, and maybe it's funny, and maybe we're starting to make, and you just start, it's just that human nature, and so the clock starts running, the money starts flying out the window, so keep them separated unless you need them together. I don't know if they've had other characters be together, but hey, wait a second, they kept me all alone. What's that mean?
Do these movies make you want to continue in animation?
Pardon?
Do these movies make you want to continue in animation?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. This has been really fun. Like when I saw the final product, as Cyborg Superman, I was totally thrilled. I mean, it was so cool. That's the only word for it. It was so cool to see my voice coming out of his mouth. It was great. And all the efforting that we had done and all that stuff, to watch those editors put all that together, to watch them piece all that together, manipulate the jaws and match things up. It's great. It was really thrilling. Although, truth be told, I've got a 6 and 8-year-old daughter right now, so my next animation project, I hope, is My Little Pony, part 2 or part 8, Descent into Hell, whatever they call it.
Hard-hitting question. You said everyone likes Superman. Do you think Saul Goodman likes Superman?
Does Saul Goodman, I know, I think Saul Goodman probably thinks Superman is a sap and a sucker.
He's doing it for free.
Yeah.
Without giving too much away, what would you say is like the pivotal scene for Cyborg Superman in this upcoming film?
I would say there's a couple scenes of reckoning that come down the pike with Cyborg Superman and his intentions. I think that's all I'm really gonna say.
Would you ever like to play Superman in live action?
To do what?
Play Superman in a live action capacity.
First of all, thank you very much. That's very sweet, but I think we can safely say that's not happening in my lifetime. But that's all right. That's all right. But you know what I could be? I could be Lex Luthor. I could be a villain. Absolutely, that would be totally cool. I mean, these days with what it's great. Technology's caught up in the imagination in so many ways, and that these movies have now become almost seamless. The ability to have the imagination be visualized on the big screen. Talk about, seeing your dollars on the screen. They spend $1 gazillion on something, and then you go and you sit down, like you go see Black Panther, and you go like, holy shit, look at that. Right? Can I say that? Too? I already did, too late. But you know what I mean? You sit down, you're like, wow. I grew up on Adam West as Batman. That was my Batman. And it's come to the Dark Knight now. It's come to that. It's amazing and exciting and exhilarating. And so, who doesn't want to be a piece of that, I mentioned to my agent, I was like, hey, is there any way I can get like a small part in some sort of DC or Marvel movie? And he's like, yeah, get in line. Everybody wants to be in that, But you never know. You never know,
Have you seen some of the live-action DC films that have come out in the past few years?
Which ones are you referring to in particular?
The Man of Steel, Suicide Squad.
Sorry, which one?
Suicide Squad.
I saw Suicide Squad. You know what? I think honestly, and I appreciate Suicide Squad for what it is. And this is just me being a middle-aged dad. It was just, it was a little too much for me. And I realized maybe that's a little too much My Little Pony in my life. It's softening me, taking the edge off me, or something like that. I know Cliff and the Big Red Dog is kind of my speed these days. He can be edgy though. You never know.
So Dora live action. That's what.
Dora live action. Well, who doesn't want to be a hero to their kids, right? They are not. Spoiler alert. don't let 6 and 8-year-olds watch Better Call Saul. And even if they did, they'd be bored. And they'd be like, "Wow." So I'd love to do something that my children would be able to point to and be like, "That's cool."
Isn't that one of the reasons why Ben Affleck took the role of Batman? I think his son loves Batman.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah, I believe so.
Sounds good. That and about 48 million other reasons.
Fair point.
Something like that.
Ben's not here.
Right behind you.
Take that, Affleck.
So while we don't know where Hank ends up by the end of this film yet, he says we don't. You do. We don't. Would you consider coming back later for future films like this? Because I know, for example, Hank ends up being a huge villain in the Green Lantern universe.
Ah, see, now that's information I didn't know, and it's funny that you kept that from me. Yes, I would be very interested. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, once on board, I've had such a thrilling experience, and now I get to be here at Comic-Con. I'd absolutely sign on to do this again. Yeah.
Is this your first Comic-Con?
I went to San Diego Comic-Con to promote Season 4 of Better Call Saul, but it was completely a different experience, and unfortunately I didn't get a chance to really hang out with many of the fans. It's just the way it was situated. But we were just down signing posters, and I got to see fans and shake their hands, and I got to be in the stairwell where everybody was flooding in their costumes, and so I was going out and getting selfies with Wonder Woman and Aquaman. I totally want to be Aquaman. That's what I want to be. I mean, I'll probably be Aquaman's lawyer, but that's cool. As long as I can swim, I think I'll be fine.
So I assume from some of your comments, like you weren't like a super monster comic book superhero fan.
No. You know what? I read Mad Magazine growing up, and I just ran with a circle that we just never got into comics. I missed that. I missed D&D and all that sort of thing. So it was sort of lost to me. So therefore, the idea of Comic-Con until I actually was here, witness, was sort of that vague, nebulous sort of thing of like a newsreel maybe I saw. But to be in the middle of the energy is fantastic because it's. It's not like Wonder Women are fighting over like who has the better sword or shield. They're actually saying like, how did you make that? What's going on? And like they're all like 6 Supermen were getting shots together, and I was like, well, that's aweson.
So what you're saying is you were an outdoor kid.
What's that?
So what you're saying is
I was an outdoor kid. Even though I grew up in Pennsylvania, yes, I was an outdoor kid.
Have your daughters had a chance to see Death of Superman? Is that something you would let them see?
Have I done what?
Your daughters, you mentioned your daughters. Have they had a chance to see Death of Superman?
No, they have not. They have not. I'm not too crazy. There'll be enough fighting and violence in store for them right around the corner, and so I'm trying my best not to shelter them, but to maybe keep it at bay a bit. There's only. Do you have kids?
2.
Okay, how old are yours?
6 and 11.
Okay, well, there's only a certain amount of window that you have where it's like soft and beautiful.
And I have boys. They're violent all the time.
Oh, your boys. Well, in that case, I know what your house looks like. I'm sorry. It'll be clean when they go to college.
Doing it when they're young.